Today, we are going to go over everything I got right and wrong about the BNR announcement, and we are going to then follow up with how that has affected the format. What does the format look like after this huge shakeup? What are the next cards that are going to get banned? And lastly, we're going to finish off how this shapes Modern as a Turn 4 format. Everyone, this is Nikachu, Merfolk Master, and my god, that BNR announcement was enormous. I mean, we never saw so many cards banned at once. That was unprecedented. It happened first time ever. Let's go over everything that I got right and wrong. Maybe we should just start off with what I got wrong. I basically predicted that there wouldn't be a very large banning. Like, historically, they never did this. Everyone on Reddit, everyone on Twitter says, oh, Wizards needs to ban this really long list of cards. Get it out of here. We need to start the format all over again. But then Wizards just comes out with like one card banned, sometimes two. Sometimes they ban a card and unban a card. Usually they're not taking a huge list and basically throwing a whole bunch of archetypes into the garbage. This time they did that. They made a huge clean sweep. And so let's take a look at all the cards. Now, the card that we already knew that was getting banned was Earl, Titan of Nature's Wrath. This was basically the card that was revealed in the Secret Lair product announcement because they were selling Secret Lair Earl. And by the way, if you're going to want that Earl, just letting you know it's going to get banned. Also in part of a much larger banning announcement, an announcement we didn't know was going to get so big. So Earl was getting the big finger, in addition to letting everyone know that more things were on the way. What else did I get right, and also the community got right, was Field of the Dead. I knew this was on the chopping block. A lot of people were dead certain that this card was going to go because the cost of adding this to your control deck was just so minusculely small. It is so easy to achieve the 7 different lands that you need on the battlefield. You play like snow-covered forest and regular basic forest, snow-covered island, basic island. It's easy. It's no problem. Throw in a triome, throw in a dual land. So like fetch lands counted as well. Play your fetch land, get a zombie. Crack the fetch land, get a zombie. As later as the game goes on, that's a problem. Not to mention this was like one of the biggest tools to the Titan decks. It evolved many different variations of Titan decks, both for the Amulet and the Green Reclaimer Titan deck, both leveraging Field of the Dead, stabilizing against any aggro deck. Also was just a win condition by itself, even if you remove the Titan. There's a lot of games where you just play a Field of the Dead and boom, basically the game's over. My land drops are my victory. So Field of the Dead, community got right big time. Also on the radar was Mystic Sanctuary, a card that a lot of people just hated, and basically, hey, Mystical Tutor for every fetch land? Why the hell not? What a great deal that is. So basically, very impossible to grind for the blue decks, given that they can regurgitate every single spell in their graveyard with their fetch lands. And it wasn't even that big of a deal to play your fetch land, crack out, get Mystic Sanctuary, put the spell back on top of your deck. They can draw it immediately, either with Earl or a Planeswalker or Opt or Archmage's Charm. It essentially replaced its Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster Mage, which was a staple of Modern for years for getting value out of your graveyard, completely displaced and replaced by Mystic Sanctuary. It was just a lot easier to bounce your Mystic Sanctuary, replay it, because I mean basically all your fetch lands are effectively like a slower version of Snapcaster Mage, but you have a lot more fetch lands in your deck than you can jam the Snapcaster Mages. Now you can't use Snapcaster Mage for mana. It doesn't work like that. So anyway, Mystic Sanctuary ended up getting banned, in addition to Earl getting banned. Now we go on to Tybalt's Trickery. This is a speedrun record of a card getting banned in Modern. No one's done it faster than Tybalt's Trickery. You lasted a fucking week. You couldn't even last a week, and Wizards of the Coast said, you know what, this card is a problem. Upon the printing of Tybalt's Trickery, the stupid, degenerate Cascade decks that cascade into Tybalt's Trickery and put a giant creature in play, either Emrakul or something else that's random on the random onto the battlefield, was a big deal. It's a big combo and is basically budget. And I said that this would be the de facto best budget deck in Modern going forward. How hard is it to have a deck composed of 4 Emrakuls, 1 Tybalt's Trickery, and 4 Cascade spells. Just mulligan to the Cascade spell. That's what the London Mulligan can do. And like, Titan decks can't compete with this. By the moment that Tybalt's Trickery saw print, the Titan decks disappeared. They were just gone. They went extinct like the dinosaurs. Tron, same situation. Hey, turn 1 tower, power plant, mine, put, like, I don't know, Karn in play, has no power here, because then you just go Cascade into Tybalt's Trickery, into your Emrakul, get an extra turn, attack, you lose all your permanents. If you did not have like a really good answer or really good interaction or a turn 3 kill yourself, you're just getting goldfished by this dumb Tybalt's Trickery deck. And it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy. So they decide to ban it. It was not going to be part of the format. So even though this was a very new card, it was still on my radar for a card that was going to get banned for that BNR announcement. Now here's a card that was gaining a lot of momentum, a lot of steam up into this banning and restrict announcement, was boiling the blood of the community. But I was not convinced that now would be the time that Wizards takes action on Simeon Spirit Guide. Simeon Spirit Guide is the card that ramped people into these turn 2 kills with decks like Oops All Spells, occasionally with the Goblin Charbelcher deck. Charbelcher also could turn 2 kill with a bunch of rituals, get 7 mana, put Charbelcher in play, and then go for victory. Simeon Spirit Guide, for the most part, seemed pretty okay in the modern format for a very long time, until these new Tybalt Trickery decks showed up. The new Cascade into Valky God of Lies deck started to show up. And then it was chaos. But here's the thing. We know that they're going to fix the Cascade rule. We know that they were going to fix Tybalt's Trickery. Eventually, that card was going to get banned. And then if those decks aren't in the format, is Simeon Spirit Guide so bad? Well, apparently to Wizards of the Coast, the answer is yes. And they decide to take the action now. Now, I told you guys, Simeon Spirit Guide is in the banning discussions. It's not a fair card anymore. It's doing busted, degenerate stuff. You can't be winning on turn 2, and Simeon Spirit Guide is one of the cards that promotes those kills. They've been doing it for forever. They've done it in the past with Neobrand. They did even further in the past with Gristolbrand. This card doesn't promote fair gameplay. And I'm sorry for the ad nauseum players. This is a huge beating to them, because they absolutely needed this card. You can't tap out with ad nauseum anymore. Draw your deck, exile 3 Simeon Spirit Guides, and then lightning storm your opponent to death. That's not a possibility anymore. Now they need a lot more mana, or they need to take the deck in a completely different direction. So it's very unfortunate for them, but that was a card that I did not think was going to get banned now. I thought it was going to get banned eventually, but it is ended up getting banned right now. That was a miss on my part. Now, one thing I did nail really hard was that they were going to change how Cascade worked to only cast double face cards with converted mana cost less than the Cascade spell, and also that they would make that announcement when they had the fix ready for Magic the Gathering Online. And they decided to only change, they didn't change how double face cards work, they decided to only change how Cascade worked, so they didn't have to make any updates for MTG Arena. Now let's quickly go over what this has done to the modern format. And frankly, I mean, it's the Wild West at the moment. People are literally bringing out the decks that have not been competitive in years. Basically, there is a big enough shakeup in Modern that people are bringing out basically a deck that they sort of bought into and it just wasn't winning. Then they just probably closed off Magic the Gathering Online, didn't look at it until now. They heard, oh, Modern's changed, Earl's banned, everything is gone, the format's slower. All right, I'm going to log back onto Magic the Gathering Online and like, what do I have here? Oh, I got Bogles, I got Grixis Shadow, I got this and that. This is a big deal. So I think in the future, whenever there is a big enough shakeup, we might expect just a bunch of random decks being injected into the Modern format, and basically we now have to wait it out and see how the chips are going to fall. People are just experimenting and finding out, is my deck viable in this new meta game? It wasn't before, it wasn't during the Earl meta game, but maybe there's now a big enough difference that it's now working right now. Some decks that I'm seeing showing up, both being tweeted about and I'm seeing in results, we see the rise of Grixis Shadow again. Grixis Shadow is a deck that basically was non-existent since Uro became a really big deal, and the most successful Shadow decks was hands down the Rakdos Shadow deck. But people who love the Grixis Shadow deck, they're back. They're playing, so that's one archetype I'm seeing a lot of. Another one, Stoneblade. People are trying out the new Stoneblade variants. Stoneblade back in a very big way. And also, one very unique archetype that hasn't been around for a while is Scape Shift variants. So things like Titan Shift or even Bring to Light Scape Shift, they're pretty back in a big way. I'm not saying that they're going to stand the test of time, but these are the types of archetypes. Used to be really popular. Stoneblade used to be very popular. Grixis Shadow was popular. Scape Shift decks were very popular. That's what's being experimented right now. Can these decks work in the new metagame? And we're just gonna have to wait and see if they can stand the test of time going into the future. Now let's get on to what I believe is going to be the next card to be banned in Modern. I don't even, maybe not the next card, but a card that I am pretty certain is on the way. They've got a target on its head, and it's just a matter of time before Wizards takes action. That is Teferi Time Raveler. The writing is on the wall, Teferi. The writing's on the wall. You got banned in Historic, not for power level purposes, but because people didn't like you. And the same thing just happened in Pioneer. They banned Teferi in Pioneer, again, not because of the power level of the card, but because of community feedback. And that feedback is no different for Modern. It just isn't. I'm sorry, Control players, if I gotta break the bad news for you, but Teferi Time Raveler, I mean, enjoy the card while it lasts. I don't know when this card is going to get banned. I mean, I'm making a very similar prediction like I did with Simeon Spirit Guide. Simeon Spirit Guide, I knew was going to get banned eventually. I didn't know when. Turned out it was a way shorter timeline than I thought. It only happened in a matter of months after that video, and I'm doing this again. Teferi Time Raveler is going to get banned in Modern for the exact same reasons that it has been banned in Historic and Pioneer, and there's nothing stopping that. People very much hate this card. Control players very much hate playing this card, especially in the mirror. It makes the mirror just stupid and not even worth playing. It doesn't even make it a game anymore because instants are such an integral part of their strategy. So Teferi Time Raveler, I don't know what the timeline is for this card. Max 2 years, but probably less than 1. If there's one thing this last BNR announcement showed, is that Wizards is willing to act very quickly now on cards. They're not going to give it the time anymore. If it's a problem, it's a problem. We're just going to deal with it. You come to my channel for the clean predictions, and this is a pretty clean, easy prediction. Teferi Time Raveler is going to be one of the next cards that are going to get banned somewhere in the next 2 years and probably within a year. Now, there was some subtle messaging in this last BNR announcement that has been a little bit glossed over that I think we need to be reading into, and that is Modern is a turn 4 format, and Wizards of the Coast 100% is behind it. Getting back to something like Tybalt's Trickery, the reason that this card is banned is because they are reinforcing Modern as a turn 4 format. This was the easiest, dumbest turn 3 kill of all time. And even if you ban Simeon Spirit Guide, even if you ban like Simeon Spirit Guide was represented some turn 2 kills with Tybalt's Trickery. Even Mystic Sanctuary gave the Tybalt's Trickery deck some longevity because you could fill your deck with islands and then just put your Cascade spell back on top of your deck with the Mystic Sanctuary. Even with that banned, they said, you know what? We don't want any deck that can consistently overpower people by turn 3. That's a clear thing that they don't want. Anyway, they ended up banning this card. Same thing with Simeon Spirit Guide. This card, all it is going to represent between now and the future are turn 2 and turn 3 kills. That's all it represents, even in a mono red prison deck. Basically turn 1 Ritual Blood Moon. What the hell is that? Even turn 2, play 2 lands, and then get your Simeon Spirit Guide Blood Moon. All it is representing is non-games by turn 2. Wizards banning these cards strictly is messaging us to the community, even though that they have not officially made any announcement about it, that Modern is a turn 4 format. I mean, sometimes turn 3 if you just put your back to your opponent and pay no attention to them, like assuming you can interact with your opponent to any degree. Modern is a turn 4 format, always was. Modern got super popular based on the fact that it was a turn 4 format. Then we started getting a little pissed with things like Mox Opal and Faithless Looting. Okay, they banned those cards, but we still had some problems with Neo Brand, and we started getting more problems with Oops All Spells, Unchar Belcher, and then these new Cascade decks. Simeon Spirit Guide getting banned now says that nothing can win too quickly. This is a turn 4 format, and they are reinforcing it as one. So you can be confident that if you get into Modern, this is not going to be a BS race to goldfish your opponent to death. So is Modern back to being a turn 4 format? If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments section below. This has been Nikachu, Merfolk Master, welcoming everyone back to Modern.